G'day and welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Graham Solomon. And as always, please hit the like button, the heart button to encourage our guest that comes in. And also go to the Graham Solomon Thunder from Down Under YouTube channel, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified like when we go live like now. So you can be part of the family and jump into the Thunderdome when we have special guests like we have now. Now, today I'm super pumped. We've got a special guest who I've had in a couple of times before. He's a virtual wholesaler. He's an educator, a coach, a mentor. He's always on the cutting edge of what's going on in the wholesale world and virtually wholesaling. So I've brought him in. It's 2024. The market's changed last year. So I wanted to get him in and ask him a few questions on where we're at and what we do moving forward. So without further ado, I'll introduce our guest, the one and only CC Garland.
Graham, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back here. It's always a pleasure to be back here.
And last time we were on CC, we talked about you'd done a bit of a reality TV thing, which was a bit different from what you'd done. You'd worked in that. You've been working in businesses as well, helping other people with their businesses. We joked about Dancing with the Stars, that you might get a gig on that, the way you were going with your media stuff. So
still waiting to hear back from them. They haven't reached out yet for some reason. Maybe it's my dance moves.
Yeah, well, maybe I've seen you, follow you on your story on Facebook and all that sort of stuff. But you know, that's the thing. You're a real person. You enjoy yourself. You go out and you know, you got a lot of stuff on the go all the time. So we try and keep it lighthearted, but we always do get down to the nuts and bolts. And that is with what you do, CC. You know, you do a lot of market analysts. You know, you're always on top of where the market's going. Like I said, it's 2024. What are you seeing out there in the wholesaling world and the wholesaling landscape? What's changed, and you know, what do we do moving forward?
Yeah, great question, Graham. So we'll get right into it. Give the audience exactly what they want. I'm noticing that choosing your market is a big time part of this business, even more so than when we had our first podcast together. I used to tell people that you can make wholesaling work in any market, and you can, but if you want your marketing costs and your overhead to be not only conservative but stay low, you really have to be going to the markets where your ideal avatar is. When we talk about your ideal avatar, it's your ideal seller. Okay, so if you're going into an area where sellers are, it's an ubiquitously affluent area, a lot of affluent zip codes, then even if there's a few pockets of neighborhoods that aren't doing so well, those people living in those neighborhoods are going to see what's happening right down the road, 5, 10, 20 minutes away. And they're going to have opportunities to go to a Whole Foods or, go to the newest outlets. We have Tanger outlets here down in South Carolina, North Carolina. Basically, these new outlets that have a lot of either high end or middle of the road type stores targeted at the wealthy middle class. Listen, if you're going to those, if you are able to access to those, you're going to think that your house is going to appreciate in value. So I'm telling people now, you want to avoid areas where there's a lot of not just gentrification, but a lot of affluent indicators in the whole market, right? So we're not targeting junker areas like Detroit in 2012. I think Detroit's a decent market to go into right now, but we're not targeting really rural or super distressed areas. But we want to be in those middle of the run areas. The Midwest is what I'm thinking about. Cleveland, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Kansas City. Those types of areas are where you're looking at because the sellers are cooperative. I know a lot of people say they want motivated sellers, Graham. And motivated sellers are great, but I want cooperative sellers. And it seems like those are those sellers that are right, not expecting too much out of their properties, and they're right in that middle between affluent and lower class.
Yeah. And talking about like firstly picking a market, you know, what do you use as a key indicators to actually, you know, for yourself and for say your students and that when you're trying to pick a good market, especially a virtual market, what are the key indicators that you look for, and how do you go about picking a market rather than just throwing like a dart at a dartboard at some names? Like what do you find the most important things to do?
Yes, sir. I see, Graham, a lot of people that get into real estate, they don't even ask this question. So I'm glad you're even there asking this question, and you respect your audience enough to ask that question, because really A lot of people that seek advice in this industry will just tell people, well, start in your backyard, or where do you have somebody that can go check out properties for you? Like doing that, it may work sometimes, but most of the time there's usually a market that's better. So the indicators that I'm looking for, Graham, is I have a spreadsheet of about 25,000 zip codes in the United States, and it's broken down by distress level for each zip code, which I got from one data source called eig.org. eig.org, if your audience wants to know that. And also I combine that with Redfin data. And the data that I'm specifically looking for, there could be a lot of points that you can look at, but a lot of those are vanity metrics. The ones that are statistically relevant are how many homes have sold first. That's the first thing I'm looking for. The more homes that have sold in a particular area, Graham, it means the area is just more active. Now, am I going to target an area that has had 1,000 homes sold total in all of the zip codes in the last 30 days? Well, the next thing we need to look at is median sale price. So there could be a lot of homes sold, and let's just say there's 100 zip codes, and each zip code has an average of 50 homes sold. That's really good. Let's just say out of all those zip codes, I have 20 out of 50 zip codes have had over 100 homes sold. Now, let's just say the median sale prices, meaning what houses have sold for basically on average, are selling for 500,000, 600, 700,000. That's going to indicate that that's more of a desirable area for affluent people. Listen, people like you and I will move to, and that's not saying, listen, people just have to realize what I'm saying here. The areas that we will live in as investors are probably areas that we will not target as real estate investors. That's something that's different from us and agents. We don't go into really nice affluent areas because what potential do you have to offer those sellers? What potential do you have to get the properties lower for a cheaper price? Is there any value add there? Yeah, you could be dealing with people in emotional distress or just left the hospital, but that doesn't qualify. Our avatar in general isn't going to look like that, right? You're going to get lucky and find people like that. I want to go to an area where, in general, I'm finding people in distressed situations and have deferred maintenance. Usually that's in lower income places, not below $100,000 as far as a median sale prices, but right around 250,000 to maybe 350,000. If I take all the zip codes in an area and I average that out among all the zip codes, and I see the median sale prices are around there, 350 to 250, that's a good indicator that I'll have a cooperative avatar. 500K, 600K, 700K, you're dealing with people that are going to say things like this, Graham. Let me take your contract to my attorney. Let me talk to my realtor. And that gets annoying, and it can be demoralizing if you're just starting real estate investing. You want to give yourself quick wins, and that's just not a way to get quick wins at all.
Yeah, and not just for new people, this is important, but this is also people that want to scale, because if they're in a market and they're working in a market and there's not enough leads, which is not enough deal flow, and all the statistics are wrong, they may need to go into a virtual market or somewhere else to scale their business. So all this goes back to the point that you need to be able to get enough leads, to put enough offers in, to do X amount of deals per month. That's the basics, isn't it? So if you're in the wrong market, all that dries up, doesn't it? So you're spending money on advertising, marketing, and it dries up, and you're not getting the results because the metrics in the market aren't working. So that's sort of going back to explain what you've just said, isn't it? That's what it actually looks like right in front of you on paper, is that you're just not getting the results that you want. And it's not that you're not trying, it's not that you're not doing things correctly, it's just that the statistics don't work in that market, and people tend to try and stay in that market and push through it, but sometimes it's just not viable, is it?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and I told him, when your lead flow is low, it seems like everything sucks in your business. Okay, the acquisitions manager sucks, the tea tastes bad, the coffee sucks, the dialer sucks, the skip tracer, the closing attorney, the paralegal. It seems like nothing goes well, and unfortunately, a lot of investors aren't looking at the root problem. The root problem is the market, and it's your marketing. Lead flow, And positive lead flow and cooperative seller leads coming in every day will cover a multitude of sins. And I think that is so true for real estate investing. Even realtors can, I think, can take a little nugget of that and apply that to what they're doing. But especially for investors, my mentor taught me when I was very early on, we are in the marketing business. The sooner that you can take that on and realize, you are a real estate investor, but real estate investing is heavily centered around marketing and generating leads.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that until they actually get into it. They go, "Oh wow, I've got no idea about marketing. I didn't realize it was so heavily at the front end with marketing." So that's something you specialize in. You specialize with your own business and with your students about getting that head start, drilling down into the right markets, and then like list pull. You're big on list pull and finding those extra things in pulling a list that other people aren't doing, which is once again data based and analytics. So do you want to just go into say list pulling, how that leads from what we just talked about into list pulling and what you do, like differently that other people aren't doing to drill down further into a market?
Yeah. So, and that's the next step of what I teach and really what I do in my company. So after we choose a market and choose the correct zip codes, let's just say we take 15 zip codes. We then take those zip codes and go into our list pulling tool. And I'll drop this for your visitors here and your audience. We use this company called Investors Title Toolbox. It's costly or more costly than, let's just say, a prop stream or a list source or Atom data. But basically the tool that I use, it addresses dark spots, or it fills in dark spots that these other tools have. So, you're almost pulling the same list as other people in using these same tools. I think the best list pulling tool to use is just the one that nobody else is using. That's why I don't really talk about a lot of my trade secrets and things like that publicly. And, I don't really care that I don't have a big audience as of this recording, because exclusivity actually allows you to be more competitive. Okay. So I really want somebody who's out there, who's watching this. If they want to get ahead of their competition, they have to be thinking, how do I do things differently? It used to be that we could skip trace homeowners, and that was a trade secret. But now everybody's able to get access to phone numbers. So there's other things that you have to do as far as technology and processes, and then training your team members and having a knowledge base like me, somebody who's experienced, to come in and help you basically game the system in your favor. So to answer your question about the list pulling, Graham, after we have 15 to 20 zip codes that we're going to target, what I like doing is going in my list pulling tool, Investors Title Toolbox, and actually going in, and I'm pulling absentee senior list right now. So absentee senior landlord list. And basically what the criterion looks like for that, Graham, is anybody who bought their house in 1999 or prior. I'll go up to 2001. Anybody who built their house in 1999 or prior. Okay, so it could be from 1800 to 1999. Anybody who bought their house for $100,000 or less. Anybody who took a first loan amount on their house for $100,000 or less. And finally, to make sure that I'm not working with people that took out a second mortgage, even though they may have bought the house for $100,000, they may have refinanced in their recession and they're paying off a $300,000 loan. I make sure I have no more than $100,000 as total outstanding loans. There's an inverse relationship here with what somebody paid for their house. The lower that they paid for it, inversely, it means that they're going to be more motivated. When I did an audit on all the deals that I've closed, and I not lost count, I just stopped counting past 300. But I have a large sample group, and I looked at all the deals that I've closed, and they all have one thing or several things in common. The people just left the hospital within the last 3 to 6 months. They were senior citizens, they were older, and they bought their house for less than $100,000. So I can't really target people based off of HIPAA laws, off of when they left the hospital. You could try to geofence hospitals, and that's something that I'm looking at right now using geofencing software. But with list pulling, you can't go in there and say, oh, show me all the people that are sick and dying. You wish, but that's not the case. But you can target people that bought their houses for less than $100,000. So that's what I'm doing. And that's really what makes my list motivated, in addition to targeting absentee homeowners. So those two things in conjunction provide us a really nice avatar to target, in conjunction with going into a market where the people are reasonable, meaning their median sale prices are $350,000 and below. See, the thing is, you can target this avatar in an area like Los Angeles or Boston, or I don't know what Philadelphia is, but those northern markets like New Jersey or whatnot. You could target this criterion there, but you're going to have people, even if they bought their house for $100,000 and own it for 24 plus years, if the median sale prices are $700K, close to $1 million, you're going to have the same issue as you're going to have that issue that I indicated at the beginning of the call, where these people are going to think that they're sitting on a golden goose and they're going to want top dollar. They're basically waiting on the property to appreciate more, and they're never going to sell it. This same thing happened in Charleston, South Carolina, which is why I stopped marketing there several years ago, because the median sale prices increased so much. And you had people that had really junker properties that either were deeded to them or they bought them for like $20,000, $30,000 in 1990, early 2000s. Charleston had a big turnaround. It's basically like the bachelorette capital of the United States. It's probably a close tie between Charleston, South Carolina and Las Vegas, as far as when people do their bachelorette parties. There's been it's tourism has also picked up there. It's gotten a lot of publicity since I grew up there when I was 10, 20 years old, up until I moved a few years ago. So with that being said, Graham, you have people that are looking at getting $700,000 for their house, when if they were in Memphis and they didn't have this opportunity to be in Charleston, their house would be still worth $30,000. So you're dealing with people that are looking at their house like a golden goose, or almost like a lottery ticket to wealth.
Yeah. So to sort of, summarize on that too, CC, you're, with the extra filters that you actually put in that other people don't put in, you're actually more laser targeting the avatar that you're going after. You're not just getting these lists full of just fluff and names and addresses of people that have been hit by the whole market. So it's actually drilling down even further with your avatar, isn't it? It's actually laser focusing your avatar. And that's what probably happens with most list pulling. People just learn early days, just pull a generic list and market to it. Well, everyone's marketing to those lists. You've got to find people that aren't being hit by the majority. You've got to find people that are not getting all the text messages, not getting all the phone calls, not getting all that sort of stuff. And that's something that you specialize in, isn't it? Once you've found the market, then you drill down to the avatar and you actually try and get to people that a lot of other people aren't getting to. So that's the secret, I guess, of wholesaling, isn't it? Is to get to those people.
Yeah, and it's also elimination, right? That's something that I don't hear people talking about. I don't want certain people on my list. A lot of people think just more records, like pull 100,000 record list and target them. Well, I don't think they realize, they may realize they're incurring a skip tracing cost. Okay, that's a tangible sort of direct expense that you're paying for, but you're also paying for your cold caller's time, right? You're also paying for your lead manager's time, your acquisitions manager's time to go through junk leads. I know for me personally, Graham, I don't get excited whenever I see a lead come through and the seller is super motivated, but the house is out in the middle of nowhere. And when I look at it, not only is it in the middle of nowhere, it's a mobile home on a slab. And I'm like, oh, the county classified this mobile home just because they put a concrete slab on it as a single family house in a rural area. That could end up diverting your team's attention to going on a wild goose chase for who knows how long. Because guess what? If you have a low lead month, you're trying to make that work. I'd much rather that lead not even come through, and so I'm big on eliminating. And I always say another filter that I add is a lot square footage filter. I do not target any homes that are sitting on more than a quarter of an acre. I think it's like 10,900 square feet, something around that, in my list pulling tool. So I'm eliminating any houses that are not in neighborhoods, or let's just say they're not mobile homes, but they're McMansions on golf courses. This allows me to be able to get comparable sales very easily, because if I can't comp out a house and it's difficult for me, it's going to be difficult for my buyer. So why even target those homes? So I only try to target homes in neighborhoods, and every lead that comes through is a qualified lead. It's just a matter of where are they at in price. So it's not like we have leads that come through and we're like, oh, got to throw this one away, got to throw this one away. No, they shouldn't even enter the CRM. We should eliminate those before they even get into our database.
Yeah, that's a massive point, CC, because the amount of time that it wastes, and like you said, going on wild goose chases, chasing leads that aren't really leads. And it looks good on the stats. Oh, we got 5 leads today and all, but 4 of them are just junk and they shouldn't even be there. So once again, that's that laser focusing, and that converts, like you just said, to time that you're not for your staff. If you're doing it by yourself, it's time that you're not sitting, just wasting and blowing time and marketing money. So yeah, that's a massive point. And I think anyone that's been in the game understands that after a period of time. It's sort of, down the track they go, wow, I wasted all that time and all that stuff, where I could have been working those leads that were genuine leads and people that were in the position to sell. So yeah, that's a huge point. And we touched on marketing before being like the lifeline of your business, and that's something that you're massive on too. People who come into the business that don't understand that, it's a bit of a baptism of fire, isn't it? They sort of, the bank account drains out and they go, where's all this money going? And that's why we've just touched on those key points. Once we get through marketing, when someone say comes to work with you, for instance, and you talk to them about scaling their business and building their business, what do you do with stuff like virtual assistants? What else have we got? We've got virtual assistants, acquisitions, all that sort of stuff. Do you set them up? So let's say, for instance, we've got 2 examples. We've got someone that's starting off by himself, and then we've got someone that's trying to scale. What do you generally put in place for them? And have you got systems in place so that they can, I guess, outsource a bit of stuff? I mentioned virtual assistants because a lot of people just throw virtual assistants into the mix, and then it just goes pear-shaped and more money gets burnt. So what have you got in place with that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so I'll talk about my philosophy with hiring virtual assistants. A lot of people that are entering in the real estate space, I love it. I love that that a lot of people are coming into real estate investing, Graham. But I think they are coming into this space looking at YouTube videos, not like this, because you're actually giving them value on your channel. But a lot of these videos and Facebook advertisements, Google advertisements, they join these webinars and they think they could go from 0 to 100 overnight. Okay, even if you had the budget to spend today on hiring a whole team automated, there are things that you have to do in order to and I call it earning your stripes, in order to earn your stripes in this business. And it can only be done by going through deals yourself. So I think somebody who's starting, especially if they don't really have a large budget to spend on real estate, you have to go through this process yourself. There's going to be no, if you want to really understand this business, there's going to be no workaround, no circumventing having a deal falling out of escrow. I had a guy that hit me up yesterday over Facebook Messenger. He was on my YouTube channel, and he said he had a $40,000 deal right when the check was about to clear. The money was already in escrow from the buyer. Seller just backed out. He's in the Air Force, $40,000 assignment. And, and that's him doing all the marketing and paying all that for himself. Now, you hate hearing that, but just like with school, you need to pay your tuition in this industry. And the best tuition to pay is, if you can't pay a mentor like myself or like with you, and we'll talk about that later, then they need to pay with actual, what is it called? Not street credit, but
sweat equity, I guess they call it. Yeah.
Sweat equity. And they have to go through these bumps and bruises themselves. I had to go through it. And guess what? You remember the fundamentals by going through issues, like having a buyer go behind your back. Let's just say I told them, might be a situation where the buyer or one of your buyers was in that seller's ear and say, hey, instead of paying this guy $40,000, I'll just give you $20,000 more, and we would cut him out. Why am I saying that? Not because I'm thinking the worst of people, because it happened to me. Happened to me on a deal. It was a fire damage property in Latson, South Carolina. I was getting dressed. I had my suit coat on. I was ready to go. I think this was May 2017. And I was about to go to the closing attorney's office, about to hop in my car, go to the closing office, and my paralegal called me and said the seller backed out. The check was already printed. Money was already in escrow, but the buyer actually went behind us. And so it was like 3 months of work lost just like that. And so at that point, I knew, okay, I had to file a memorandum of contract. See, I could tell people this till I'm blue in the face, okay? But it actually, you don't really realize the importance and gravity of why you need to do certain things up until stuff like this happens that reminds you why you need to do certain things, like file memorandums of contract.
Yeah, and all this information's out on YouTube. I mean, there's so much information out there. But like anything, until you actually go out, like if you're going out to go fishing, you can watch as many YouTube videos as possible. But until you actually go out there and try it, you're not going to realize what things aren't working and are working. And sometimes if you've got an experienced fisherman next to you, they will actually help you move forward with it. So, and teach all the things. So yeah, it's hard because everyone wants to try and just sort of get in and get started and everything. But the problem being is if you don't get in the trenches and you start delegating stuff out, there's a lot of things that can slip through the cracks. You've sort of got to get in there and know what you're doing before you can actually teach someone else how to do it. So yeah, that's a good point, CC. And like when you work with, I know that you work with a lot of virtual assistants and you train a lot of people like that. What are the things that you see, the mistakes that you see people make when they go, oh, look, I'll just hire some, virtual assistant. I'll hire a leads manager. I'll just hire someone and I'll set and forget it, and I'll go back and do something. I'll go out and do something else. What do you see the major mistakes with that?
Yeah, great question. So some of the major mistakes that I see, Graham, are them, and this is the point I was trying to make. I go on a lot of tangents, so you gotta forgive me. But the point I was trying to make here was that you'll have people that think they know the business, great, you know how to close deals. You don't know the business. There's a difference between knowing how to close deals and knowing how to run a business, and that takes time. So a lot of people really don't even know what these positions entail.
Yeah.
Listen, when I started, a lot of people just to this day, they think the first thing they need to hire is an acquisitions manager. I'm like, what? It's like an acquisitions manager is usually going to be an American. And so if you don't know the business yourself and you're going to bring an American over, convince them to quit their job, pay them salary plus commission, and you don't know how to walk them through a deal, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
You're going to, even if you find somebody who's great, who's done acquisitions before, listen, there's going to be some contentment that's had on that acquisitions manager's part at some point. They're going to say, well, I'm doing all this stuff for the owner. What? And you could potentially get held hostage by your employee. You really need to know all the nuances in your business. You don't need to know how to do all of them at an expert level, but you need to know what the role of a leads manager is, what the role of an acquisition specialist is, what the role of a cold caller is. I've also seen some people in the industry, they'll threaten their employees with firing them or just not really being, what am I trying to say? They're not really being very fair to their employees if things aren't going well in the business. Like if the lead flow is low, they'll go into the business and they'll have a team meeting. They'll say, well, everybody's going to be fired. I need to generate 20 leads today. Well, if it's a cold caller's fault and they're not generating leads and they're basically the one that you need to be focusing on, that, or looking in the mirror and taking extreme ownership and saying, hey, I need to focus on probably the market. What am I doing wrong? So I don't think investors, they look at themselves underneath the microscope. And if you don't know the nuances of the business, if you don't know the start points, like market research is a start point and how to do transaction coordination at the end point, you're not going to know where things break down at. If you don't know where things break down at, Graham, you're not going to know who to place blame on when things aren't going well. And I say that in a positive state. You want to be able to identify if there's a square peg that's an issue, that square peg is an issue, not the circle, not the oval. not the rectangle. You need to be able to identify that and not throw the baby out with the bathwater or yell at other people in your company or get frustrated at them if they're not performing because you don't know how to diagnose the correct issue because you don't know what's going on in your business. You don't know the left and right limits of each role. You're not tracking your KPIs, right? These are things investors just don't know. And this is something I like teaching, and I teach in my my wholesaling mastery program is really teaching business owners how to run the business because there's companies out there. I talked to a guy yesterday who's working with me now, but he hired somebody to hire an acquisitions manager for him, cold calling, text messaging specialist, and leads manager. And he's closed deals. He's frustrated because he doesn't know what's going on, right? At that point, you're basically at the mercy of the vendor who's basically renting that team to you. Because do you think the loyalty of that team is going to be to him who knows what's going on, or to the person that hired him and who's doing the weekly trainings? So you're basically, if people go that route, because a lot of people may want to do that and it may seem appealing, yeah, maybe to get your first couple of deals, but you have to know what you're doing at some point, because then the vendor could jack up prices on you and you just be paying 2-3 times as much as what you need to be paying because you don't know the foundational components of every part of your company.
Yeah. So once again, starting off, you can do a lot of these roles yourself, but that's what you're saying is then you can expand it, but you've still got to be hands-on in the running of your business. There's no business that you can have that you've got to still oversee it and you've still got to manage it. So, we've just sort of touched on the point that it's best if you know what you're doing and you've been in the trenches and you've done it, but then also you've got to know if you are delegating, tasks out to a lead manager, maybe an acquisitions person, some cold callers, you've got to be able to manage those people and you've got to have measurements tools in place to do that. So you've got to, like you said, know what's going on inside your business. And another thing too is you've got to want to know what's going on inside your business. It's not just a set and forget sort of thing, is it? Wholesaling, we talk about it all the time, CC, it is messy. It's messy. It's not one of those clean cut cookie cutter businesses. So this is the thing you're touching on, and that goes right through to even building buyers lists and all that sort of stuff. You hire someone to build a buyers list and they don't really know what they're doing. It's not going to be an effective buyers list. You've got to build some rapport with buyers and stuff like that. So you've got to also be involved with the initial building of that, and then you can actually outsource a little bit, but you've still got to manage it as well, don't you?
Yeah, you have to. And what I would suggest is looking at like an assembly line. Okay, learn the market analysis and research part of that. Get really good at that. Then outsource it once you understand it. Because then if that virtual assistant or an employee has any questions about that, you can answer it. The whole goal isn't to not work in your business. It's just to work on the things that you're really good at and the things that you specialize in. This isn't like a Amazon FBA type thing. This isn't, Bitcoin or anything like that. This is an actual business. And sometimes wholesaling gets grouped into that. This is a legitimate business model. I'm not saying that other things aren't, but I know several companies that have office fronts right here in Charlotte. There's a company I work with that has an office front, and the only thing they do is wholesaling. They're doing over $2 million a year. I meet with the owners several times a month. Okay. So, I'm not saying you can't do that with Bitcoin or anything like that, but we're purchasing houses over here. We're purchasing tangible assets. And if we want to close on these, we can, because our purchase contract allows us to, when it says, my company agrees to purchase XYZ property and or assigns. That and or assigns gives me the ability to assign it, or I could just close on it. So I don't think people realize that this right here, real estate, should be the main thing you're working on. And then those other things are where you should put your proceeds on. Like, so if you're going to go into this industry, listen, there are a lot of things you need to learn. And just with this instant gratification culture, Graham, that we're living in, a lot of people just want to get in here, make quick money and go. You can do that. But, how are you going to turn this into a sustainable business? At some point, you have to treat something like a business. And the thing I love about wholesaling is that it's a big enough industry and the pie is so big. There's something that you can do that fits your skill sets exactly. And you can scratch that itch of working without feeling like you're working. Okay. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. And real estate provides that. and just outsource the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that we've spoken about it. The blowing up of virtual wholesaling. You don't necessarily have to do. You can work in partnerships. You can JV. You can do a lot of stuff to get started and to get up to a point where you may actually go out and have your own full wholesaling business. But this is where we talk about networking, isn't it? CC, like having to sort of not set and forget, but actually building relationships with people, like with your buyers, with other wholesalers, with realtors, with people in the real estate industry and the market. This is really important these days. Things have changed. All right, we've got all the automated stuff. We can send out text blasts. We can do this. We can do that. We can automate with VAs, delegate. But it's still a relationship business, isn't it? It's still a business with people. And especially when you're dealing in the wholesaling world with distressed property or distressed people, it is a relationship thing. So you've got to have, like, for instance, we know people that are in short sales and that. So that if a lead comes in and it doesn't fit the model, we've got people within our network that can handle that and help these people out. So you build relationships and networks as well. So it's very hard to outsource a lot of that stuff as well, isn't it? You've still got to have that relationship thing within your business.
Yeah, that's the business owner task right there. A lot of people say, well, if I outsource all this other stuff with cold calling and, doing all this technical stuff, well, what am I supposed to do? And I tell them, you are supposed to be forging relationships with buyers, going to get funding. So if you do need to double close on something, you have somebody who could, lend you on 1% interest. They're only taking 1 point on your transactional funding. Okay. Or, if you do want to close on a property, it makes sense to wholesale it because you're going to make twice as much. Having somebody like that, going and seeking education so you're sharp and you can help your team when there's issues that come about. Going and pursuing other exit strategies, going into networking events or masterminds, things like that. That's what you're supposed to be doing. And okay, you can outsource it to somebody else. Like, oh, I'm going to outsource this to somebody else. And the whole time, if you don't know what's going on and you're not sharp, there could be mutiny going on in the ship. And before you know it, there could be teammates and other people conspiring against you, and they could snatch your whole Rolodex of buyers. They can go off with, all these contacts. So, I don't understand why some people seem like they just don't want to work. And if that's you, this industry has no place for you if you just don't want to work. It's working on higher level things. It's doing those $10,000 an hour tasks. That's what I do right now. $10,000 tasks or more. I don't do anything below that. And if I have to step in, whoever is requiring me to step in and do that, I have very harsh words for them, because who's going to be doing those high level things? Can my team in Nicaragua do that? Can my team in the Philippines do that? Can they go to the courthouse and network with buyers at an auction? I think not. So do your job and I'll do mine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really puts it in perspective of why you do delegate those tasks and to free up your time to do the high level stuff, which is networking, is building relationships and building a business and working on the systems in your business. So thanks for that's really illustrated it clearly, CC. Now you've got you've been around for years. You've got a YouTube library. You've got a Facebook group. How do people reach out? Firstly, to check you out, to see all that sort of stuff, and then I just want to, after you tell us about that, you've got your Build to Scale Wholesaling Mastery Program. You're launching at the moment for 2024. I'll get you to just talk about that, and then we'll wrap it up, CC. So that's given us a good start to 2024. So just if you want to tell us how people can firstly follow you and jump on and see your content, because I advise people. I followed CC for years, and the stuff that he's talked about throughout this podcast that he's got, you just got to watch his YouTube stuff and jump in his group, and you'll find out that it gives you a cutting edge ahead of a lot of other people out there in the industry. So I'll give you the floor, CC, just to let us know how people can reach out to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said earlier in the show, Graham, I'm a real person. So guys, I still use my same Instagram that I had when Instagram just started. Well, I found about it in its early days in 2012. So they could go over to that. I think my handle is at @c.c_Garland. And C.C._Garland on that one. Facebook will be facebook.com/GarlandCC. That's my page. I have the same picture for both of them right now. My YouTube channel, they can go to just type in CC Garland Real Estate Wholesaling Mastery, and that will pull up my my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, I have over 60 videos there, and if they go there, a lot of my recent videos I've been doing have been lives. So you may need to go on there. Your audience may need to go on there and actually click on the live tab, and they can see that I go live like once or twice a month. Okay. And I post an actual video maybe like once every other week. But those videos take a long time to edit. And I like the spontaneity of having people on those lives. So I tend to do those a lot more often. So that's how people can find me over there. So yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are the primary sources I'm at. And people can feel free to send me a DM over Facebook, right? I'm very engaging with my audience. If they want to join the Facebook group, it's going to be Facebook, Facebook.com. I'm not sure of the exact URL, but it's called Build to Scale Wholesaling. So if they search for that, a public or private group, but it's searchable publicly, and we get you added in there. The big point with the Facebook group is if they go there, they may not see too much activity recently, but it goes back to 2019, and they can use a search tab to search anything they want, right? I probably have answered hundreds of questions in there for people actively from 2019 to maybe like 2021, 2022. But now where people are getting a lot of value is we have a chat called the Wholesalers Lounge. And so there's like 132 active people in there. So people can post their deals in there. I know that I just posted in there, looking to JV with a few people in different areas in the Midwest and Southeast. And I monitor it. Listen, so we don't have spam or anything like that going on. I try to maintain the integrity of the group as much as possible.
Yeah, I've been in your Facebook group for years, and you run a tight ship because you want it to be about, people actually being able to ask questions and being to get information, sharing content, all that sort of stuff. Whereas a lot of Facebook groups now are just pure spam. You've always run a tight ship with that, and it. I think you've busted me a couple of times trying to post stuff in there and it smacked me on the wrist. So I've been guilty of that. But
I don't think so, Ram. You've always been respectful, right? So yeah. I don't think so. But
yeah, no, I have probably tried to do it. Where's me cash buyers sort of thing, or trying to write off the coattails of CC's group. That's what you do. That's what we all do in the business. But no, so I just encourage people to go and check the YouTube channel out. I love CC's videos. How if you want to know how to build a buyers list and do it virtually and have some little hacks there up your sleeve, if you land a deal, there's some certain hacks. There's some great ones in there. I know I learned about your golden mailing list, all this sort of stuff. It's just gold, and it's archived in there. So go and check it out. And like I say, CC is, like you say, he's a real person. He comes from the trenches, and he's trying to empower people that are trying to do the same thing and change their life. And he stayed at that level. He's not gone up into guru status, and that he probably could have, but he doesn't. He still works with people who want to change their life, that want to have a business, serving people and helping people. So, kudos to you. So you've stayed at that level for a long time, and that's where you're committed. That's your avatar is to help people. Now the Build to Scale, you relaunched it. You've had that going for a couple of years, where you take in a group of students and you basically walk them through, and you help them build their business and put things in systems in their business. Do you want to just elaborate on that a little bit, in case there's anyone that wants to reach out and check that out as well? I've actually got the graphics on the screen, so if anyone wants to, there's a link that you can hit for that. But I just want you to basically explain and give us a bit of an overview, CC.
Yes. Thanks for that, Graham. So my Build to Scale Wholesaling Mastery Program, this is something that I've launched since 2018, and just a little bit of the history about it is I was going in investors' companies and doing their marketing campaigns for them and setting up their virtual assistants for them, completely done for you. And I started that in 2018. And by the end of 90 days, they would have a lead manager set up, a cold caller set up, and then in some cases, if they needed it, an acquisitions manager set up and their CRM, and they would have close to 30,000 seller records pulled and at least 100 leads in their CRM. So I was doing all the stuff that people were struggling with technical wise, And then only thing they had to do was call the sellers. Now, the issue is that I was getting people deals, but the whole goal was to teach men and women how to fish. And they needed to learn how to run the business, because when I would step away, and sometimes people would want to stop for a few months and with the lead generation, close the deals up, they wouldn't know how to run the business. And I would say, oh my gosh. And then the employees would leave them after a month and they want to work with me. They say, oh, Jan Smith fired me. Can I work with you? Or they would just quit because they didn't like working with that employer, because what we were saying earlier, the employer, if they don't know what's going on, they don't know how to run the company. And so when things don't go well and they don't know how to address and troubleshoot issues, guess what's going to happen? They're going to blame the team. And those team members I became fond of, and they did a great job. And I saw some team members that were getting let go over and over again. I said, man, these people are great. And it just turned out it was a lack of education. So in 2019, that's really when I launched my first iteration of the Build to Scale program, where I am taking people from start to finish on learning the business as a business owner. Because if you don't know what the lead manager position entails, if you don't know how to train your VAs, if you don't know how to diagnose dialer issues, you don't know how to analyze virtual markets, like really comprehend that, all of these things could plague your business and prevent you from closing deals consistently. So we work with investors who have tried other programs, who've tried to outsource cold calling, lead generation, but they end up just maybe hitting the jackpot every year or so, getting 40,000, making 50,000 on an assignment fee, and not knowing how to reinvest it, and end up losing their whole money, all their money rather. And it just seems like they're an airplane trying to get off the runway, and they're going up, they're going down, they're going up, they're going down. Well, we're here to allow people and help people, take that plane off and stay in the sky and go out how high they want to. So that's what we do. Graham, it's a little bit different from what other people are doing out here, because we have a done for you component and a done with you component, right? Yeah. That's the teaching part. And we have a component where we are, where we're helping people actually address technical issues if they have them. And it's really a system. It's really a system where we're providing processes and we're meeting people where they are. So we do have people that come in and haven't closed deals before, or maybe have had deals fall out of escrow. We work with them, but being realistic with them with how far they can go in 90 days, they can fast track it, but we're looking for them to understand what we're teaching them. And I look at like college, right? I take, groups of 5 or 10, work with those groups for about 90 days. I take a break off, and then I get right back to it. So I don't scale anything past the amount that I don't feel like people are getting one-on-one support. So it feels one-on-one, even though there's group components to it. But every part of the program is individualized based off of where the individual is. It's not like we're just throwing you in a Facebook group and throwing you to the wolves. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah. So it's a very personalized journey, and it's to, like you said, not just to land a deal and go, oh, you've landed a deal. It's to actually build a business. It's to build for people that want to actually get in this fair income and full time and build a business. So, no, thanks for sharing that, and thanks for coming on, CC. We've gone past time, so we better jump off. But guys, if you want to go and check out the YouTube channel, the Facebook stuff, go and check out CC stuff. Or if you want to inquire about working with CC, the link's up there. Excuse me. Pardon me. Just a bit of a sneeze. The link's there on the screen. So type that link in, hit it, and inquire about working with CC if you want to really get fair income about your wholesaling and virtual wholesaling, being able to do it in different markets all around the country. CC's a master at it. Yep. All right, CC. We'll end it there. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure that 2024 will be another good year for you and for your students. So yeah, thanks for coming on. And like I could talk to you for another 5 hours, but we'll have to pull the pin then. And wish you best with everything moving forward. And 2024, it's getting meaner and leaner, so you've got to be on the ball. And you've got, like we've said before, you've got to be able to generate leads and close deals. That's what this game's all about. So thanks again, CC. we'll tune out. And thanks for all the audience for chiming in. Like I said, this is only our second podcast for 2024, so I appreciate you guys jumping in and getting excited about wholesaling and virtual wholesaling and US real estate. That's what it's all about. All right. Cheers, CC.
Thanks, Graham, for having me.
Thanks, everyone.